like I loved Batman. Batman was by far my favorite superhero.
Yep.
At that age, I dressed up as Batman probably 3 Halloweens in a row before,
Yeah.
like seriously, before I knew anything about Gotham.
Welcome to the Warner Brothers A Lot More podcast. I'm Jonathon Buckley. For 100 episodes of Gotham, David Mazouz told the story of Bruce Wayne from boyhood grief through all the way to the Dark Knight, and we're honoured to be joined by him today. David, thank you so much for coming in. I've had so much fun catching up on Gotham over these last few weeks in preparation for this interview. I don't know what I was doing around like the years that Gotham was originally airing.
It wasn't good, whatever it was.
It wasn't. I should have been watching Gotham. Do you look back and think, how on earth did that become part of my life? Like,
Yeah, all the time.
yeah.
All the time I think that. I mean, it's definitely the coolest thing to ever happen to me.
We'll say yes.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. At this point,
Yeah.
the question that I get asked a lot is like, how does it feel being Batman? And every time I get that question, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I am Batman. You know, like, it doesn't always register.
I don't think I'd ever seen really an arc or an origin story for Bruce Wayne that's been so detailed. Going from the get-go, I'm like, as soon as that opening episode came on, I was like, oh, I am in for this, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, those, roughly 15 year period between Bruce's parents getting murdered and becoming Batman really had never been explored. I think there was one comic series, I think it was called Nightcrawler, where you saw Bruce Wayne as some kind of, billionaire, playboy, teenager getting into trouble in Gotham. But yeah, for the most part, you never really see the arc.
Yeah.
What a treat to be able to add that to the canon because it didn't really exist before.
You were 13 when you got cast, is that right?
I was 12 when I auditioned.
12 when you auditioned.
My very first audition, I had an 102-degree fever.
Oh no.
I think actually that was the callback. And then that was right before Christmas break. I was like, so I didn't hear anything for like 2-3 weeks because everyone was on break. And I thought, okay, well, I guess the fever screwed it up. And then they called me back like January, asked me to test against 3 other boys. I did. They called me back again. Okay, now it's between you and 1 other boy. So I went back like the next day or like 2 days later on this lot, This lot coming right back is bringing back a lot of memories for me. And then they were like, okay, that kid's out, but they want to test you. They want you to test against 3 other boys now. And so I went back again all in the same week. And they're like, okay, it's between you and 1 other boy again. And so it was literally 4 auditions in the course of probably 7 or 8 days. Yeah. And for the last audition, they had me go to Bloomingdale's. They told me like, okay, buy these clothes. We want you to look more like Bruce Wayne.
From casting, so they said.
Through my reps, yeah.
Gotcha.
Because I have curly hair. Mm-hmm. I think they just wanted to see me, it's a huge role.
Yeah.
And also when you're casting a kid, I would imagine you're really nervous about this kid could look completely different in 2 years. I'm sure that happens. You see it all the time on TV.
Interesting. How do you vet that though? Do you ask for photos of your parents?
No, you can't vet that. I think it's just like, this is what I heard from the creatives at least. I think like, the Danny Cannon, the director, Bruno Heller, the creator, and all of the executive producers really liked what I was doing in the auditions. It was a dummy scene. It was a scene between Bruce. It was between Bruce and his therapist.
Wasn't in the show.
Wasn't in the show. Yeah, I was talking about my brother's death in the scene. It was, and I was saying I was really sad about it. And the therapist was asking me, "Are there any good memories that you have with you and your brother?" And I go on this story about how we went camping in the woods, me and the family, and me and my brother climbed up a tree and we weren't supposed to, and an eagle landed right next to us, and it was such a peaceful, great moment. So it was a really, really good scene, not too long, and I think they really liked what I was doing in those auditions. I think they were just, I didn't necessarily look exactly like how they pictured Bruce Wayne, so they had me go buy these like Brooks Brothers, shirts and suits, and they told me exactly what to buy. Bruno Heller, who created The Mentalist, also shot on this lot. They had me go to the hair and makeup department on The Mentalist because they were shooting their last season, and they gave me a full haircut, and they styled my hair. They like basically created the Bruce Wayne hair because, as you can see, I mean, if you see what I look like in the show, I guess my hair's cut off in that picture. A little different,
but yeah.
But yeah, it's not. It's like it took a good 45 minutes every morning to style my hair, blow dry. Anyway, I'm going on a rant, but
no. I love hearing about that because it sounds like. I imagine when it comes to casting that it is a pretty detailed and extensive process when you've got it cast this title role of Bruce Wayne. It's super important. Were the auditions grueling? Were they testing your ability? Because at such a young age as well, I imagine they're looking ahead at, hopefully, and nothing's guaranteed, but they probably would have been looking at 5 seasons, let's say.
Yeah, 100%.
Can this kid handle what we're about to do to him, which is put him through season after season of late nights, fights, screaming, all the rest of it? So were they directing you and throwing you curveballs in the audition to see how you responded?
You know, I don't think it was so much like, let's put him through the ringer. I don't remember it feeling that way. I don't remember any audition lasting longer than 20 minutes, maybe maximum. Like we did the scene a couple times. Danny definitely gave me direction. I don't remember anything specific. I mean, it was over 10 years ago now,
and
I was 12 years old.
I know.
I remember certain bits and pieces. I don't remember, like, I've had auditions where they really put you through the ringer. I remember I was auditioning for a Stephen Daldry movie once, and they flew a bunch of kids out to New York for a week, and it was literal boot camp, you know? It was nothing like that. Like, I came, I did the audition, and, I went home just 6 times in a week. So I guess that was the grueling part. Well, mentally,
you have to hand it to the casting people, because the casting of the show, up and down,
oh my God,
is phenomenal. Like,
it's perfect. Everybody's perfect.
Everybody's just from Alfred to Nigma to Selena to, like, you look at it. They did an incredible job, and of course Bruce Wayne. They did an incredible job casting you. I think the fans are, I'm sure you still have a very large fandom from the series.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you know about the story of Batman? Did you know about Bruce Wayne? Did you understand what you were taking on?
Definitely didn't understand what I was taking on. I knew about Batman, of course. I knew about the story of Bruce Wayne. Did not understand what I was taking on. Honestly, as you were just speaking, like, it's still, I genuinely mean this. Like, it's still, because I do have fans still to this day in my DMs, in comments saying, like, you're the perfect Bruce Wayne. I hope James Gunn hires you. And it still is like, oh my God, I guess, there is this character that has been alive for almost 100 years that is so dear to so many people. And I really, it still is like just a little bit mind-blowing to me that I did that. And
you're part of that now.
And I did
forever.
I did it justice, I think.
I think you absolutely did.
And I think that people really, most people, like, really enjoyed what I did with it. But yeah, as far as, like, Batman and knowing about like, I loved Batman. Batman was by far my favorite superhero at that age. I dressed up as Batman probably 3 Halloweens in a row before, like, seriously, before I knew anything about Gotham. And then, when I got the role, I just did so much research. I bought every comic book that I could get my hands on. I watched every movie 3 times.
Did you have a favorite of the movies that you like to go back to? I hate doing favorites because everything's good for various reasons, but
100%. I like that caveat.
Yeah.
And I agree with it. I will say, just because it was 2013, 2014 when I got cast, like, it had to be Christian Bale. I mean, he was the coolest guy in the world because of Batman. Yep. At that time, he still is. He went on to be Mazouz, so I think he's killing it. It had to be Christian Bale. I mean, I still watch those movies, and I'm just mind blown.
They still hold up to this day.
Oh my God, they more than hold up. They're still some of the best movies of all time. I mean, The Dark Knight Rises is one of the most philosophically challenging movies ever made.
Yeah.
On top of it being one of the best action movies ever made. On top of it being one of the best performances ever. It's just like, it is just, really is a perfect movie.
Do you think, given its proximity to those movies, that was probably the last of the Batman movies before Gotham was created?
Yeah, it was right before.
How much of...
I'm sure it was the success of those movies that spurred Gotham in many ways.
Yeah. How much do you think that affected performances amongst the cast within the show? I'm just thinking about even some of the characters, like Joker, for instance, which is another massive undertaking, a character that's got, people are passionate about. So how much do you think that those movies, the Christian Bale era of Batman, affected the performances within Gotham?
I think they had to. Yeah. Because I think just, for the cast and also for everybody watching, that was our baseline. That was like what everybody, most recently knew these characters as. At the same time, I think everyone who worked on the show did all the research that I did, if not way more.
Yeah.
And, picked the things that they liked and made the changes that they wanted to make. I mean, for example, Alfred in Gotham, I think was completely unique to anything we've ever seen before.
I was going to say, I've even made a note down here. One of my favorite elements is Alfred just being a beast.
Yeah, just being a badass. I mean, I don't think we've ever seen that before. No. Michael Caine is a badass in his own way, but not in the way that Sean did it.
Yeah.
You know, and Sean was super intentional about that. He knew about the Alfred lore, you know, and that was so unique that a spin-off show came out that was basically completely inspired by what Sean did.
Yeah.
I think to answer your question, like for me, Christian Bale was always in the back of my head, but at the same time, Gotham did have a different tone, you know. But a lot of the things that happened in Gotham were you know, markedly different than, like, you know, couldn't be the same canon as the Christopher Nolan movies. I think that was the baseline, and then Gotham really, just as it went on, like I think for the pilot, that was at least my baseline. And then as it went on, like we just found new things and found new elements and made it, you know, weirder and more interesting and more fun in a lot of ways.
Yep. You had to leave LA to go and do this. How were your parents feeling at this point?
Great question.
I don't know. Like I just imagine myself now, like as a parent, if my child was about to enter into this thing, knowing the size of the role that he was about to undertake, were they nervous? Were they excited?
I don't know if nervous is the right word. My dad's a doctor and my mom's a therapist.
Okay.
The industry is new to our family, even though I grew up in LA.
Yep.
I think they didn't love the idea of me leaving school, you know, of me being on a TV show, just because, you know, there's a lot of horror stories when it comes to child actors.
Yep.
You know, it was a conversation when I booked it and we found out, okay, I would have to move to New York with my mom, leave my sister, leave my dogs, leave my friends, my school, my dad. My mom would have to stop working, at least temporarily, you know. That was definitely a decision. Like it wasn't an automatic yes. Yeah. But so we had a conversation as a family, and it was really ultimately my dad that said, you just can't, you know, this opportunity could change your life. We can't, it's going to be hard for the rest of us, and it's going to be hard for you too. And it was hard for me, but we can't say no.
Yeah.
And, you know, I love my family for making that sacrifice, because they did. It was a sacrifice. You know, my sister didn't grow up with a mom for the most part for, you know, the better part of her high school years.
Yeah.
There were a lot of lonely spouts that I had in New York because all my friends were in LA. I didn't go to, I was still enrolled in school in LA.
Yep.
And so whenever I had like a week off of filming, the producer of the show hated us because my mom and I would just get on a plane and go out back to LA so I could pop back into school for a couple of days and see my friends and feel like a normal kid again.
You didn't have any kids on set with you, did you, aside from Selena?
Yeah, I mean, Cameron, who played Selena, was on set. But she was really the only kid. She was a couple years older than me too. Yep. You know, there were a lot of difficulties, but at the same time, it was also like one of the coolest things
of course
ever.
Did anyone step into kind of like an Alfred role on the set and took you under their wing?
Sean. Really, Sean.
Really?
Sean was like actually Alfred to me in real life.
Is that right?
Yeah. He, like, genuinely, he was probably my best friend for like a good chunk of Gotham's run. And it was funny
that makes
because
sense, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had all our scenes together. Like you know, that chemistry that you see with us on screen is just,
there is a warmth there.
It's just so real. He was genuinely my friend. He was genuinely my teacher. You know, he had, you know, his decades on me in the industry. I was just learning. I think he learned from me too, but you know, he taught me both through example and also just by speaking to me and telling me all of his, you know, incredible stories that he has. I just learned so much from him. And it was funny because, you know, we'd walk into places together, like we'd just hang out all the time. And it's like a 12-year-old kid and like a, you know, a 50-year-old man.
Yeah.
And we just walk into restaurants and everyone would just assume that I'm his son with a different accent, you know?
Yeah. Was it exciting stepping onto those sets? I mean, I'm sure at that age, even just like going to the Big Smoke and going to the city would have been exciting, but those sets were incredible.
Yeah, the sets were incredible.
Yeah.
I remember the first time we went to the GCPD set, which is massive. I mean, it's genuinely all of that. Like, okay, so there's a second floor, there's a massive first floor with like multiple offices that are fully decorated. You like open up a drawer and there's like actual fake like GCPD papers in there. There's like pictures of like the background extras would have their desks and they would like put pictures of their family on the desk. Yeah, like it was all real. And then you go around the back and there's like multiple hallways to multiple interrogation rooms.
Yeah.
Like it was the size of a stage almost. Like stage one, we had 2 stages for the run of the show, and stage 1 was pretty much fully just like the GCPD set. And it was absolutely breathtaking.
is a lot of television you created. 100 episodes, that is so much. And long episodes too. You know, seasons of 22, 23 episodes, 40-minute episodes. You created a gargantuan amount of television. Physically, you're fighting, you're screaming, you're running, and you're doing night shoots. Was it grueling?
So I had a lot of child labor laws protecting me.
Gotcha.
You know, I remember I couldn't work past like 10:30 p.m. or something.
Oh, you got so lucky.
Maybe it was later. Maybe it was like midnight. But yeah, I could, like, whenever they were doing all-nighters, they'd have to shoot me out. Peace out, guys.
And then you're done. And everyone else is there until 6 a.m.
And as far as like the fight stuff goes, I mean, I'm a 15, 16-year-old boy. I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. Yeah, I asked them if they would hire a martial arts trainer for me, and they said yes.
What style of martial arts did you do?
I did Krav Maga.
Oh, okay, that's a violent
brutal,
martial art.
Yeah, exactly, very violent. All about like kicking in the balls and poking in the eyes.
It's not the prettiest of the martial arts, but it is effective and brutal.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And my trainer Matan would, he would go through all the fight choreo with me, and it was awesome. Yeah, it
would have been so much fun.
I mean, I loved working on
jumping around on crash mats. And,
yeah.
Did you ever get rigged up into a harness and pulled through the air?
I remember there was one time where I was supposed to, it was one of the earlier seasons, and like I was supposed to, and then last minute the producer was like, "We don't want to risk it. Like, don't." And then they did it with the stunt double instead, and I was so upset.
Like, oh, can I just do it once, even not for on camera? Just let me do it.
Yeah. But I have been in harnesses before on other projects. Where I was even younger, and did a movie in Argentina where I was on a harness, and they just left me there for like a half an hour. But they just forgot me up there.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? Maybe the harness looks more fun than it is sometimes.
Yeah. Your co-stars, I know we mentioned it earlier, but all of the villains, I didn't really realize what a treat I was in for when I dove into the series, because we get to see origin stories for nearly all of the major villains. Yep. Was there one that you particularly enjoyed? I'll tell you right now. Penguin for me was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, just a phenomenal performance.
I mean, again, I think what he brought is so different than anything else that existed. You know, Robin is just a brilliant actor. Do I have a favorite? It's between the Penguin and the Riddler for me, because I think Corey, you know, and all of the stuff that he's doing now, I think is just like I knew he was gonna blow up, because he is such a phenomenal actor. But what he did with the Riddler, I mean, it's subtle, but it's so fascinating to watch. And I think that's why, like, one of the things that I think the fans actually affected on the show was there was one scene, I think maybe season 2, between the Penguin and the Riddler. And it was just supposed to be like hey, here's a fun cameo scene where Penguin comes to visit GCPD and he runs into the Riddler and they have a little funny interaction. But the fans loved that scene so much that it became a whole like multiple season arc where Nigmobblepot became a thing, you know, and they had this pseudo bromance thing.
Yeah. And so fitting that they ended the whole series together, kind of like that was their last scene was together, wasn't it? They were like, we'll deal with this tomorrow.
Yeah.
It did really take. So how do you say it again? It was
Nigmobblepot.
Nigmobblepot. Ange, did you know about that one?
I did know about that. I was on Tumblr at the time.
Ange is a big fan, of course. It was such a fun series to watch. I got curious as I was going through it. I was like, wait, you're killing a lot of people here. Let me look into this. And have you done the numbers on how many people were killed?
We brought a lot of people back to life, so I don't know if that gets subtracted from the count.
It's pretty high. I don't have a specific number, but outside of disaster shows and war series where lots of people get killed, I think Gotham is right up there as one of the top body counts of any series. So congratulations, you killed a lot.
Thank you.
No,
I do take full responsibility.
It was like every episode it was just boom, done, boom, done. Do you feel like the creators were having fun?
I think they had so much fun.
I was
in the writer's room one time, and it was an awesome experience. But most of the time, I just received the scripts, you know? And every time I read a script, I was like, they're having so much fun in that writer's room. Like, they've got to be just like having a blast. Because, I mean, the episodes were so fun. And we had so much fun making it because we just got to do like the most wild shit, all
absolutely.
the time.
And it was good because it kept with it stayed true to most of the lore, but it did take creative license on some areas, which was fun and refreshing. Like,
and you need that.
You kind of
need that to keep people on their toes.
Yeah, and it can be tricky. I know that fans can be passionate. Was there any backlash from fans saying, "Oh, it needs to be just this way"?
There definitely was. I can't remember any specific examples. I think I was guarded from it because I think with my character, they were particularly careful to not stray too much.
Yes, definitely.
I guess the only thing in Bruce's arc is that, I was out there at, 15 just with a balaclava fighting crime, And I think some fans had a little bit of a problem with that because they were like, come on, you're not Batman yet. What are you doing, But again,
baby steps, you got to get there.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody had major issues that I can remember. There was never like one thing that really irked people.
Have you gone back and watched it since?
Yeah, I've gone back and watched random episodes when I'm showing a new friend or something like that.
Because again, I saw it after. I wasn't watching it at the time, but I think it ages well, and it was such a joy to find and watch. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed catching up on this series, and you did a great job. So we've got actually a few questions here that our audience through social media decided to send across. So
incredible.
We figured we'd ask a few. So if you sent some questions across, we read them all. We've only grabbed a few of them, but thank you for sending them across. Did audience reactions to certain storylines affect the way the show was written or how you portrayed your character?
When I spoke to the writers, they definitely mentioned a few times, like, hey, the fans are really reacting to this, and that wasn't so we're doing this. It was just like, hey, it was definitely something that was on their mind. But I can just speak for myself. Did it affect the way I performed certain scenes? Absolutely. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's not. But I remember in season 2, I think it was season 2, episode 10. So pretty much all of season 1, Bruce is really struggling. He's trying to find that inner determination in him. He's trying to figure out what to do, but he's kind of in this lost place where he's just hurting. And the first time that Bruce is really active in a plan, and he's really has a plan and puts it in motion and carries it out, is season 2, episode 10, when you think as the audience that Silver St. Cloud is duping Bruce, and then it turns out that Bruce and Selena actually had this whole plan to dupe the duper.
Yeah.
And the scene where we reveal that, it was like really a new side of Bruce. And I remember it was a mix of like looking online and seeing what people were saying. And, just some people, as they do in Twitter comment sections, being like, Bruce Wayne is so, he's not doing anything. He's such a whiny little kid, and that never really bothered me. But I remember also watching Christian Bale, like rewatching one of those movies and seeing just his stoicism and how still he is and how much power there is in that. And it was like the night before we were about to shoot that scene, which to me, just reading the script, it already felt like a very important scene. It felt like a shift. It felt like, the whole arc of Gotham for Bruce especially is, how do we get from A to B? How do we get from spoiled kid to Batman?
Yeah.
And this felt like, one of those inflection points. And Bruno Heller, the creator who lived in LA, was visiting set that day. And I remember after we shot the scene, he came up to me and he was like, you brought something new, And so, I think, all that to say, I think fan reaction it's super helpful, I think as a performer, listen, what we're doing is really personal. When you're a writer, when you're an actor, like you really put like the most vulnerable, the deepest parts of yourself out there to get judged. And so you have to guard yourself, when stuff is coming in. And thankfully, I haven't had too much of this, but when stuff is coming in that like you just have to know how to filter it. Mm-hmm. But feedback is always good. I think feedback is always good.
When did you first realize that Gotham had become something truly special for the fans around the world?
I don't know if there was a specific moment. Maybe it was like, I remember season 3, I was like, getting a bunch of Instagram followers, and I looked to see where they're based. And most of them weren't in the United States, which really surprised me.
Yeah.
I have a lot of fans in South America and in England. But I think doing comic conventions all around the world also, I was always shocked at like how many people would turn up and just love the show. But also it didn't really surprise me because, from very early on, I understood that Batman is an international figure.
Totally.
You go anywhere in the world,
anywhere
you see
in the
kids
world,
with
and it's
Batman backpacks. And
yeah. Yeah, to be again, we'll go back to that. To be part of that, you're part of that now. Like it must feel pretty cool. Like no one can take that away from you. That's really something. Is there a lesson that you learned in the making of Gotham that you still carry with you today?
Yeah, it's actually very specific. It's all about willpower, you know.
Yep.
And this is really from like reading Batman comics that I learned this more than anything. And that's because of Gotham. Like Injustice is my favorite comic book.
Yep.
And Injustice is basically a civil war between Superman and Batman, and all the heroes and villains have to pick a side between the two. And it was always crazy to me because, you know, in this world of Injustice, in this world of DC Comics, you're dealing with aliens and, you know, superhumans and metahumans and gods. They're like, you know, Wonder Woman is a literal Amazonian god.
Yeah.
And Batman is the leader of half of that side, and he's just a guy. And so not only can he compete at the same level as these gods, he can lead them. And what did he do to get there? Just sheer willpower.
Yeah.
You know, sheer determination. Training his mind to be the greatest detective in the world, training his body to be at its absolute limit. You know, so whenever I'm going through as David, whenever I'm going through something difficult, whether it be, you know, a workout or something difficult's happening in my life, whatever it is, and I know I just need to buckle down and get through it, I always think of Bruce. You know, I always think of that part of me, you know, because when you play a character for 5 years, especially, he becomes a part of you.
There's a little
bit part of him in there,
yeah.
You know. I just have to channel it every once in a while and be like, Bruce would just go through it. Bruce would just grit his teeth and keep going.
Another question from a fan. How was it filming in New York City, specifically for a show that's filmed on location but not set in New York City?
Yeah, I mean, I think New York is the closest real life thing we have to Gotham. Thank God.
Yeah.
And it felt like a really, really New York show. I mean, whenever we were, like, I would get recognized so much more in New York, and people that just felt like they were part of the city too. Like cops would recognize me all the time in the subway. You know, it's like the most New York experience you could have. I would get invited to like Islanders games and Nets games, and it just felt like, you know, kind of what we're seeing right now with the Knicks in New York. Like it's such a, like the city of New York has such a spirit, and has such a community, and Gotham just felt like it was part of that. And so this show couldn't have happened anywhere else.
How has life been since Gotham? So you wrapped in 2019, which seems not long ago, but also seems like a long time ago. It's kind of weird how time works now.
Yeah.
But
it's so true.
a lot has happened since then in the world. And how's life now for David?
Yeah. So I went to Stanford right after Gotham finised.
You heard about this.
And I studied economics. Probably like the least creative I've been in my life, but I did theater while I was there too. But I really wanted to see, like, okay, I've been acting since I was 5 years old, and I love it. Do I love it because it's all I know, or do I love it because this is what I'm meant to do? This is my vocation. So I wanted to study something else. I always liked math, so I studied economics. And I'm really happy I did that. I realized this is what I want to do, you know?
Economics.
No.
I was going to say.
No.
Just to make sure. Filmmaking.
Acting,
gotcha.
Producing. I mean, like, just and you talk to most performers, and they'll give you, you know, a similar answer. There's a high that you get when you're, you know, in front of the camera and you're just letting go, and you're allowing yourself to be spontaneous and just give yourself to these imaginary circumstances.
And collaborating with a group of people with the same goal in mind, and the relationships that you build and the intensity with which you
building
work.
off your colleagues, and, you know, getting notes from your director and being like, oh, that's a great idea, you know, let's go do it. But you just tap into something that feels deeply human, you know, the artistic, creative side of ourselves. And I realized, like, there's nothing that can replace that high. And, you know, it is like a drug, you know. I'm constantly chasing it, and I just love it. And so, yeah, that's what I'm doing now. I graduated, and I started writing and producing. I wrote and produced a film that got into Tribeca last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
It's a big achievement.
Thank you. And, you know, I'm acting. I did a movie called Gulf of America earlier this year. That it's a horror movie. I'm really excited for it to come out. I think it's going to speak to this generation very much.
Has there been discussions ever since? Because obviously, I'm sure from so many people who love the series and couldn't get enough and was sad to see it end. Do you still get an inbox messages all the time like, can you bring it back? Can you do a reunion? Is there time for a spin-off? You should be the next Batman.
Yeah.
Like, do those conversations ever go anywhere?
If they do, I'm not involved in them.
Okay.
But one of my friends yesterday was like, they should do an Into the Batman verse. Just like, you know, Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
I think it'd be pretty cool.
I think so, David. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your contribution to the world of Batman.
Thank you
my
so much,
favorite
Jonathan. It was so good talking to
superhero.
you.
Great to chat to you. Thanks again.